Temperature today in LA up into the high 80s. Right now it's about 84 degrees. Dodger Stadium filling to capacity for Game 6 of the National League Championship Series as the Mets take on the Dodgers, and the Dodgers try to win the pennant for the first time. A one-time Met, a Met draft choice in 1979. Now a Dodger trying to beat the Mets. The inside pitch on Tim. Tommy's always looking for the camera is what it amounts to. Dykstra hits it sharply, and that's off the glove of Hatcher, and he can't recover. Had Mickey been able to barehand it after it had popped out of his glove, he might have had a play with Leary covering it first, but then
something like 23 errors. Right.
Dykstra, who had 30 steals, is going, and a perfect hit and run to left field, and Dykstra is on his way to third. So an auspicious beginning for the Mets as Dykstra reaches.
Fastball. He has not had that effective pitch the last month.
Backman goes, swung on and missed. The throw to second is not in time. So Hernandez strikes out, but Backman steals second. And Scioscia's going to contend that Hernandez interfered with the throw. And here, 3-0 the count with McReynolds waiting on deck. And so they pitch around him. They walk him on 4. An intentional walk. The bases are loaded. The infield can set at double play depth. And the only man in the National League with 2 grand slams this season. Out of this jam, the crowd will very much be in the game. And it's hit high in the air to right field, deep enough to score a run. Marshall comes to the line and makes the catch. Dykstra on his way home, and he scores on a sacrifice fly. The other runners hold. So McReynolds with a fly ball to Marshall. 3-2 the count. Runners go. High, ball 4. So they're loaded up, and it will bring up Gary Carter. And Scioscia goes to the mound, and Perinoski now cannot go to the mound. Remember, he used up his visit in this.
A lot of quarterbacks, and then you get knocked on the turf. You hit your head, you get a concussion.
No balls, 2 strikes, and Carter goes down on strikes. So a tough first inning for Leary, but he gets out giving up just 1 run. David Cone, who won 20 and lost only 3 during the regular season, on the mound for the Mets.
We're on their feet. Now, those are great fans, and this is what the Dodgers fans are tonight.
And Sachs is on 4 pitches. So Stottlemyre and Johnson look on as Sachs.
Cone throw a strike here.
Sachs, who has stolen 5 bases in the playoffs, goes to second as it gets by Carter. And Sachs takes the turn at second and stops there. So the 7th pitch is a wild pitch.
But if he walks 2 or 3 hitters in a row, then I think he's more inclined to be yanked.
Ball 4. They appeal no, says Wendelstedt. So 2 walks. Runners at first and second, and listen to the hand for Gibson.
But he can hurt you with 1 swing, as we saw the last couple of days.
Bunts in the air. Big break for the Mets. Cone makes the catch. Gibson angry with himself. Unable to get the runners over here in the first inning on a curious move to begin with. So
that could be the thing that gets Cone back on track.
Here's Marshall, who hits a high fly ball to left field. And here comes McReynolds, and he makes the catch. So keep that in mind. The Gibson bunt could be the critical point early in the game.
Can now use the rest of his pitches. 2-0, he couldn't do that.
Got him. And so the Dodgers bunt their way out of the inning. And at the end of 1, it remains Mets 1, Dodgers nothing. Mets in Game 6. Dodgers win tonight, they win the pennant. Mets win tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 Eastern, Game 7. Grounded toward the hole. Hamilton is there, ranging to his left, and throws it by Hatcher and into the photographer as well, and that gives Elster second base automatically. Cone squares, 2-0, bunted toward third, fielded by Leary, 1 play first base. Sachs covers, and Cone does his job, advancing Elster to third. So Kevin is there with
Lenny, a man of 1,000 stances.
And he gets hit by the pitch. So Dykstra goes to first base. And the Mets have runners at first and third with one out. And Wally Backman coming to the plate. And that graphic, which we flashed there, 3 for 3 plus a walk. So Leary's never gotten him out until now on a split finger low and in. And he picked the perfect time to take care of Backman for the first time in their conference.
I doubt if Fernandez is going to swing at a bad pitch. Too disciplined to do that most of the time.
And he hits a ground ball right into the glove of Sachs, who goes to Griffin for the fourth. And so Leary works out of it at the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 Mets. Extricates himself from a jam. Then the Dodgers have the emotional high of getting the first two men onto the bottom of the first. But before that inning is over, it's the Mets who are the beneficiary of the swing, as Elster goes into foul ground to make the catch, thanks to Gibson's bunt. Then the Mets again, runners at first and third, one out of the... Does that mean? Nothing.
New season.
To center field, racing in is Dykstra, has to play it on a hop. So Hamilton is on.
Furthermore, the Mets had won 11 in a row at home to end the season. They win the first game, then drop the next two.
Griffin pops it up. Backman is there and makes the catch. So two down, and Tim Leary is the batter. Well, you go back to 1983, the Dodgers were at the other end of that particular spectrum.
Collaborated with Dave Cohn said.
The interview in the guise of the column, right?
Yes, that one.
Grounded down to Backman. And he throws him out, and the inning is over. No runs a hit, and the man left on. We go to the third in Game 6. 1-0 Mets.
Be that if you're a Dodger fan. Just don't know, so.
Strawberry hits it into center field for a base hit. So Darrell with his 9th hit in the series, the most by any member of the two clubs.
Good enough stuff to win in the major leagues.
He reaches out, and it's off the glove of Griffin, and a big break there for the Mets. As Strawberry goes to second base, look for the moment when Griffin went up as if he'd come down with the ball.
And pitch.
That'll get you stopped at the border. 2-2 pitch is lifted to right field, deep but very playable. Strawberry tags at second. McReynolds is also tagging. Marshall makes the catch, and the throw is cut off as Strawberry advances. So Darrell goes to third. McReynolds remains at first.
Brian Downing of the Angels did. First move will be back towards the pitcher.
McReynolds goes, and it's a fly ball to shallow center field. Strawberry is tagging, but Shelby is there to make the catch, and Darrell has no chance. A little pop fly.
A base runner into scoring position. That's what you'd be doing if you walked him intentionally here.
And he lines one to the gap in left center. Shelby races over, can't make the play. Strawberry scores. McReynolds will be held as Griffin cuts the throw off on a double by Elster. So 2-0 to the number 8 hitter. Lasorda looking on as Leary faces his 18th man in 3 innings. The Mets have already been through the order twice. And it's squibbed right into the glove of Hamilton. So Leary continues to struggle. At the end of 2.5, it's 2-0 Mets. Category. Cone against righties held them to a 165 average this season. And he gets Sachs, a right-handed batter, to ground to Elster, dug out by Hernandez. So 1 down in the 3rd inning, and it brings up Mickey Hatcher.
5 of the 6 were right-handed hitters. He was totally out of sync.
Hatcher hits a fly ball to left field. McReynolds is there. 2 down. So 2 away in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Mets on top 2-0. Really 2 stories in the game so far. The Mets
Just gives a nice quick hip turn normally, but see how he's just kind of favoring and almost goes down to his knees.
Hitting off his front foot. That's what he did again.
And he pops this one up to Carter. And David Cone, after a very rocky start, has settled down. And at the end of 3, it remains Mets 2, Dodgers nothing.
I think that's what you alluded to when you said the old Gary Carter in the first game. They were playing him. He just hasn't swung the bat well.
Popped up back of 3rd. Hamilton is there. And out number one.
Wouldn't you rather have a name like Early Win or something like that?
That's hit into right field for a base, and Hatcher just froze on it.
Yeah, he did.
It was amazing. You know, we talked about this a couple of times, and not to beat it to death, but the Dodgers, we don't know at this moment how important, but it's something to think about early in the game. As Hernandez hits a grounder toward the middle, Sachs gobbles it up to Griffin one, the first double play. And Hernandez has stranded 5 men tonight. 2-0 after 3.5.
Socia hit only the 4th home run of the season.
And Shelby gone on strikes, and that's 3 strikeouts for David Cone. So 2 down in the 4th inning, and Mike Socia coming up.
Oh, just great mechanics. I mean,
That upset necessarily about the suspension. He agreed it was illegal, but it's the perception that he was cheating. To center field, and Dykstra backs up and makes the catch. At the end of 4, 2-0 Mets. Back after this from your local station.
I think that here's a guy that had a great year, and maybe people do have a different perception of him when they should.
Well, the other night you called it jaywalking. That was the best analogy. Strawberry draws the walk, and you can bet the bullpen will get up again as Tim Leary starts the 5th inning with a walk. And Lasorda.
In the playoffs, you don't find, you know, the masses as forgiving, I think, as the two towns have been.
McReynolds doesn't find that pitch forgiving as he drills it to deep left center field and gone. And it was almost inevitable because Leary's been on a tightrope in each inning, and he begins the 5th by walking Strawberry, and McReynolds hits a 2-run homer to make it 4-0.
McReynolds looking inside. If you remember the last time up.
Tomorrow, Hershiser and Darling would be the matchup at 8 o'clock Eastern. Brian Holton on in relief, induces a grounder to Hatcher, and Jeffrey's gone. 1 down. Holton the other night, Tim, was talking about being so nervous.
Lowest batting average in the major leagues for September, 205.
Breaking ball is hit to left field, deep but playable. Backing up is Gibson, and he makes the catch. In the inning, 2 runs, 1 hit to McReynolds homer after 4.5. That's 4. Dodgers nothing. In uniform, but ineligible for the playoffs. He's not on the playoff roster. As Hamilton lifts a soft fly ball to right field. Strawberry is there. 1 away, and Griffin coming up.
Had an interesting talk with General Manager Fred Clare about if you get up in years, and I went through this, you don't get a lot of runs. It makes it very tough to pitch.
3-2 line to center field. In comes Dykstra, makes the catch. Len Dykstra got a good jump on the ball. And Lasorda has watched Cone retire the last 10 in a row.
If the game doesn't really get close, and even if it gets close, probably see Jay Howell tonight for an inning.
That's wrapped to left field, shallow left, and in for a base hit. So leave it to Brian Holton without a hit all season to pick up the Dodgers' 2nd hit of the night. 3 earlier in the inning.
Right.
And Sachs takes ball 4. So with 2 out.
Now, the other school is that the pitcher is going to have to throw a strike, and that's what Cone did then.
Grounded to the right side. It's a base hit. Holton is being waved in. Here comes Strawberry's throw home, and Holton is safe. And the infield can play a little deeper, too, right here because of Gibson's leg. It's popped up. Back of third. Jeffries is there, and that's that. So the Dodgers settle for 1. Leave 2 into 5. 4-1 New York.
Can win 1 game without Kirk Gibson. Now, whether they will is another point.
2-2 to Cone. Is squibbed up the first baseline, fielded by Holton, who throws him out. 1 away. Holton has retired the 4 men he has faced.
did have a kind of a rough 5 innings or 4+ innings, but he's been the least supported starter on the Dodgers. I mean, average under 3 runs a game for him.
Dykstra hits one to the gap in left center field. Gibson goes over gingerly to cut it off. Dykstra on his way to second, in there head first with a double.
When I talk about run support for Leary, it's really under 4 runs a game. So
on the line, and if you remove Backman here, obviously you don't have him later on. He grounds it to the left side, fielded by Hamilton, looks the runner back and almost handcuffs Hatcher at first base. But Mickey holds on, and there are 2 down. Oh.
And to the right-hander, the changeup, but the left-hander more or less takes that pitch away.
And this is away, and it's in the air to shallow left center and dropping for a base hit. Dykstra comes in to score on a soft single by Hernandez. And it's 5-1 Mets. So those guys who did it before '85, that's particularly impressive. There goes Hernandez. The pitch is up and in, and they weren't holding him on. And so Key says, I'll take second, and he does. Thank you very much.
It's an interesting contrast.
When he got to first base in the 9th inning, I think I injured it again, but he still stole second. Strawberry takes Paul, strike 3. And here's Hernandez stealing second with a 4-run lead, but to no avail as it turns out. At the end of 5 1/2, 5-1 Mets. Marshall chasing it, and down he goes. And for Cone, 4 strikeouts, including Marshall twice. And the man he has struck out the other 2 times is
the father of Pat Riley, the coach of the Lakers.
Another great motivator. Obviously.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Shelby down on strikes for the 3rd time. 2 down, and Scioscia coming to the plate. So Shelby chases a high fastball. Lasorda playing for Riley's father. And if you lead 3-2, you come and you say all they have to do is play 500 baseball. You got to go 1-1. But all of a sudden 500 becomes having to play 1,000. And that's what the Dodgers will have to do as they're down to their last 9 outs. We go to the 7th, 5-1 Mets. Man bites dog stuff. I've never heard a guy say it was more difficult playing in San Diego than New York as he grounds one in the center field for a base hit. But very interesting theory there.
But you could tell by the way he talks, that easy manner of his, and you
to right field and slicing and deep, and Marshall goes back and makes the catch. What a play by Mike Marshall. The player looks a lot different than he does if you only catch him 18 times and read about him a lot. 3-1 pitch with McReynolds going is a strike, and the throw to second is not nearly in time. And so McReynolds with a stolen base here going on a 3-1 pitch. And as we mentioned, 21 for 21 this season.
This consistency. He runs the same way, quiet demeanor.
And all that is factored into the voting as Carter takes inside ball 4. That one skitters away from Scioscia and advances McReynolds to 3rd. So runners at 1st and 3rd with 1 out. And Kevin Elster coming up. In terms of this MVP,
usual, like a sign that he's given to the 3rd base coach.
And it's ball 4, so the bases are loaded. Horton has given up a single and 2 walks, and the only out in the inning was that great catch by Marshall. David Cone, it's a little squiver back to Horton. He comes home to Scioscia 1, back to first, double play. So the Mets can't capitalize in the 7th, still 5-1 after 6 1/2. Curve to the hole, scooped up by Elster. Strong throw gets him. 1 away in the 7th inning.
Stottlemyre said it's almost a forkball, which means your fingers are separated more.
Popped up, foul ground. Carter comes over, waves Jeffries away and makes the catch. 2 down, and now Danny Heath.
Caught him sitting down was yesterday morning, and I think that was just fatigue.
And down goes Heath. So Danny out on strikes. Cone has struck out 6. To the 8th we go. 5-1 Mets.
Thing to note, at the beginning of this, you saw the blimp, and hey, Columbia wins one game, and they get a blimp named after it.
Lions are rolling.
In that weather.
And the Mets are rolling.
Maybe that's what it took.
Yeah. 5-1 as Orozco comes into work, and Sachs leaps but can't make the play, and Len Dykstra leads the 8th inning off with a single, and that's his second hit. So Dykstra on a base hit to right. That's 10 hits.
Exactly what players to get.
Dykstra goes, gets a great jump, and with 2 strikes, a backman bunt, and he's tagged out by Orozco. So with 2 strikes, he lays one down. Dykstra had a tremendous jump and had second base stolen easily.
3-run rally in the 9th of the first game.
To shallow center, he hit it off the end of the bat. Shelby comes in and makes the catch, and so the Mets are done in the 8th. At the end of 7.5, it remains Mets 5, Dodgers 1 in Game 6. It's slowly to third. Charged by Jeffrey. Throws on the run, and there's no better way to quiet a crowd than an out.
Only been focused tonight.
Hatcher. Fly ball, shallow left field. McReynolds comes in, quickly 2 down, and Cone keeps rolling 9 in a row, and Kirk Gibson coming up.
Last year, bunting of Atley Hamaker. He sat on the bench for 2 months while he was healing, had a chance to see all the other pitchers.
Gibson pops it up in foul territory. Jeffries and Elster. Elster takes charge and makes the catch. And the decibel level doesn't bother David Cone 1 iota. On to the 9th. Mets 5, Dodgers 1. Down the line, hooking into the corner, and that's a fair ball and a ground rule double. And Kevin McReynolds has 2 singles, a double, a home run, a sacrifice fly. He scored a run, and he's driven in 3. McIlvain seated next to him. But they didn't want that to become a major issue during the playoffs and or World Series. Popped up, Hatcher comes over, and Mickey has the play. 1 out. So Jeffrey's taken care of, and Gary Carter will be the batter. World Series, but announced the hiring of Lou Piniella on the eve of the 7th game. Carter lines one to center field, and Shelby makes the catch. So Gary is gone. He's 0 for 4 tonight. With pursed lips, he goes back to the dugout, and
The Mets draw, so very important to get into postseason play and all the way to the World Series.
Cone pops it up, and Hamilton will take care of this one. And the Mets strand 2 more. They've left 13 men on base, but still as they go to the bottom of the 9th, they lead it 5-1. String of 9 in a row. He retired 9, then he wobbled. He gave up the only run on 2 singles and a walk. And now he's going to, well, I was going to say definitely get Marshall, and as it turns out, he does, but in a rather unconventional way as Elster makes the play.
Well, a lot of people don't think about
in foul territory, Jeffries, and that's the 2nd out.
He's made it very simple since that bunt by Gibson, because he was on the ropes early.
And a base hit into right field. Hernandez was breaking toward the bag, one of those should I or shouldn't I. Throwing. As he works in the bullpen, Hamilton the batter, and he lines one into center field, base hit. And while he's working, he could also think about and dream about a 4-run Dodger rally to tie it.
And when you're trailing by 4 in the 9th inning.
Well, 2 pinch hit home runs this year already, so of course he will not be hitting off of Dave Cone.
Not at all.
Nope.
Fly ball left field. Here comes McReynolds, and tomorrow night these 2 teams play 1 game for the pennant. And Tommy Lasorda sends his Bulldog, Hershiser, to the mound, and Davey Johnson counters with the Yaley Ron Darling.